Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Broken Arrow Athletics NCAA Eligibility webinar. My name is Charlie Hanema. I will be your tour guide tonight, joined by Executive Director of Athletics Steve Dunn. And Coach Dunn, just tell us a little bit about why we're even doing this.
Sure, and Charlie, thank you first for moderating tonight's webinar. We appreciate all that you're doing with us. You know, the mission of Broken Arrow Athletics is to build champions for life by creating an environment that inspires our students to achieve their highest academic, athletic, and personal potential. And so everything that we do really is filtered through that mission. And last year we had our first annual NCAA Eligibility seminar where we had over 100 parents and families show up to the PAC to receive this information. It's our effort to equip and empower and inform and educate our families, our student athletes about the NCAA eligibility process, which can be overwhelming if you go into it unprepared. And so again, this is our opportunity to give back to our families, to educate them and give them the tools and resources to make this process as seamless as possible. It's an exciting time for kids. It's an exciting time for parents. And the more information that we can give them and put in their hands, the better off the kids are going to be.
And you look at our signing day ceremonies that we've had over the years, and a lot of people think seniors signing scholarships, maybe juniors getting recruited, but I know you're going to get into this. This process really starts much earlier.
That's exactly right, Charlie. And we will go through the high school timeline. These are recommendations put forward by the NCAA, but it's a little bit different at every school, and certainly at Broken Arrow. So we'll go through some of those differences. But you're absolutely right. The first Wednesday of last month, in February, we had over 40 student athletes sign a scholarship, declaring their intent to continue their athletic career at the next level. Every year, we're going to have somewhere between 40 and 60 families that are impacted by this opportunity. And again, this is just our effort to empower and equip our families to have the most information they can possibly have to make this an enjoyable experience in what can be sometimes chaotic and stressful for families.
You think about recruiting and the athletic side of it, but if you don't have the academics in order, none of that matters. So let's jump right in. Take us through what families need to know.
Absolutely. So tonight, we will focus on the following agenda. What is the NCAA? Why is there an eligibility center? We'll talk about the high school timeline, as I suggested. We'll look at the initial eligibility requirements for both Division I and Division II. We will hit on Division III just a little bit. And then we'll talk about sports participation, including amateurism, recruiting calendars, and just resources that families have that the NCAA has really done a great job of amping up the materials that they put into families' hands. So the NCAA fast facts: over 1,000 colleges and universities, 100 different athletic conferences, over 500,000 student athletes participate in the NCAA, 19,500 teams, 90 championship events, 24 sports, 3 different divisions. So that's a pretty big organization. And I think that answers the question to why is there an NCAA eligibility center? One of the goals of the NCAA is to protect the amateurism of amateur sports. But they also have their mission, which puts the student before the athlete. And so that's why you see this high push for academic success in high school to be prepared to go to the next level and earn a 4-year degree. And the NCAA mission is one made up of a huge membership of athletic directors and athletic administrators across the country. The NCAA Eligibility Center evaluates and certifies all prospective student athletes for Division I and Division II schools. They focus on academic preparedness, high school courses, sports participation, and customer service. And it really pertains to all students who want to compete at the Division I or Division II level. We keep saying D1, D2. Division III is a part of the NCAA, but their requirements are so much different than those of Division I and Division II. And Darren Melton will go through the differences of those in just a little bit. And as I said, we're going to talk on amateurism requirements and the likes.
High school timeline, I know we've got athletic programs in middle school. A lot of people are starting that career. We might have viewers that are parents of 6th graders, but you can never start too early on this, so let's kind of go grade by grade what you need to do.
Absolutely. And again, the high school timeline, this was put together by the NCAA, and they give this to you as a resource at ground zero, and then we're able to go back and tie it kind of directly to Broken Arrow Public Schools and how it pertains to us specifically. Grade 9 is where the NCAA starts, but I'm going to take it a step back. It's actually in grade 8. In Broken Arrow, if you take Spanish 1, if you take Algebra 1 in the 8th grade, those are high school credit courses And as Coach Melton goes into the NCAA Division I, Division II eligibility requirements, you're going to learn that any high school core course that is approved by the NCAA for Broken Arrow High School, it counts towards your initial eligibility. And so as early as the 8th grade, you have to be on your best performance in the classroom. And so what we have found as athletic administrators and coaches is let's use athletics as a great platform and a great carrot and incentive for students to perform well in class and to earn as high a grade as they can possibly earn, to give more effort in class as they do on the field of play, and then the eligibility just kind of takes care of itself. So in grade 9, pretty simple. Register for a profile page or a certification account. There's a difference in the two. We'll hit on the differences in just a few slides. If you fall behind in the 8th grade or in the 9th grade in any of those 4-credit courses, according to the NCAA, reach out to your counselor. Make sure that you touch base with them so that you can begin making those courses up ASAP. Grade 10, register for a profile page or a certification account if you haven't done that already. Again, if you fall behind academically in the 10th grade, start right now to get caught back up. Work with your counselors, work with your coach, come to the athletic office and let us work with you to put a plan together. In grade 11, check with your counselor. Make sure that you are on pace and on track to complete the required number of NCAA approved courses. Our assistant athletic director, Amanda Snyder, will be coming up in a few segments, and she's going to talk about one resource that we provide at no cost to our student athletes at Broken Arrow that really helps with this bullet point. At the end of your junior year, ask your counselor to upload your official transcript to the NCAA Eligibility Center. Our counselors at Broken Arrow do the best job in the country at preparing our students and making sure that the NCAA has everything that they need. But I think it's always good for students to kind of be proactive and go see their counselor, know what they're supposed to do, and really have a hand in their own eligibility process. And then take the ACT, take the SAT. There's some tips and reminders that we're going to go through in later segments. But we offer the SAT free of charge for all of our students in Broken Arrow at the high school. And that's just a wonderful tool that we offer to our kids, but take it as many times as you can to improve on those scores because it can have an implication on your future prospects of being a college athlete. In the 12th grade, complete all of your final NCAA core courses. Again, take the ACT, the SAT if you have not yet received a qualifying score for the NCAA or for an institution that you're interested in. Being NCAA eligible is one thing, but then if you have a desire to go to Institution X, they might have a different set of requirements for admissions. So just be informed. Work with our College and Career Center. Understand the different universities and their admissions processes and put yourself in a position to be able to accept a scholarship should you have that opportunity. And then finally, request your final amateurism certification through the NCAA Eligibility Center portal. Again, we'll talk about the certification profile, the profile page, the difference in the two, and who will need to do both. This last slide just reiterates on grade 12. After you graduate on time, ask your counselor to send your final high school transcript with your graduation date posted to the Eligibility Center. Again, our counselors do a fantastic job of doing that, but it's a great proactive tip to give a kid to go to your counselor as soon as you graduate and let them know that that's something that they need to do. Reminder, only students on an NCAA Division I or Division II school's institutional request list will receive a certification. And we'll explain that process in just a little bit. We did allude to registration. There are two types of registration. There's the certification account or a profile page. Both are accessible at eligibilitycenter.org. That's a place that you will become very familiar with as you go through the recruiting process, and we will come back to that link over and over throughout this webinar. The two account types, there's the certification account. This is for any Division I or Division II prospective student athlete that is seeking to sign an NLI with a university or college. It does have a fee of $90 that cannot be paid by a high school. It cannot be paid by a university. It must be paid by a student. And it is required, as I said, to sign an NLI. It's also required to go on official visits to any college or university that requests that you come and check out their school. And so that's something that, as a former college football coach, there were times where we would want to bring a student athlete to the university and show them an official visit over a 48-hour period, but they had not yet registered with the NCAA Eligibility Center. So this is an important step, but not everybody is going to become a recruitable student athlete. And so for students who are unsure if they're going to have an opportunity to go to the next level, the NCAA has created what's called the profile page. The profile page is for undecided students. If you're a Division III prospective student athlete, this is also for you. It requires no fee. You can transition to a certification account at any time, and you will not receive an academic or amateurism certification through the profile page. So we tell our sophomores, our freshmen, hey, if this is a dream of yours, then go ahead and create a page. It doesn't hurt. And then you can easily transition that into a certification account by paying the $90 fee and having your information from the school uploaded to your account. Again, I mentioned our Associate Athletic Director, Darren Melton. Darren spent the last 31 years as an athletic coach, an athletic administrator, a parent of a prospective student athlete. So he has gone through this process as a dad. He's gone through it as a coach. He's gone through it as an athletic director. So experience is just oozing out of his ears. And so he's going to be able to come in and talk about the initial eligibility requirements. Amanda Snyder, our Assistant Director of Athletics, she's just coming off of an 11-year stint at the University of Tulsa in their athletic administration department. And prior to that, she was a student athlete for 4 years at the University of Oklahoma. So this real world experience that she's had on a university campus as a student athlete and as an athletic administrator, she's going to bring a whole new perspective to this webinar and is such a vital resource for our kids because she's kind of been there, done that. So we're excited to hear from Amanda in a few segments. And then that last segment, we'll bring one of our parents on, John Cockrell, who has triplets that are all seniors. 2 of them have already signed a national letter of intent. 1 of them is in the process of being recruited as we speak. So very excited about this webinar. Again, it's something that we do just as a service to our families, a service to our parents, a service to our kiddos. And if you ever have any questions during this webinar, after this webinar, at any point, you can always send us an email at ncaa@baschools.org with any question that you have pertaining to the recruiting process or the eligibility process, and somebody will reach out to you. Our office phone number between 8 and 4:30, Monday through Friday, 918-259-5900. We're here to serve this community. We're here to serve our parents and our kids. If you have any questions, please let us know what we can do to help.
Associate Director of Athletics Darren Melton is with me now, and it's time to kind of get into the meat of the eligibility process. I know the initial eligibility standards, D1, D2, there's a lot of requirements here, so I'm just going to tee you up and let you go, Coach.
Well, Charlie, you're right. There's a lot here. And one thing that I would tell a young person as they're going through this process is work closely with your counselor. Work with your coach. You don't have to understand all of this, but you need to be working with someone that does. And so you're not on your own. There is a lot here. So let's go through it, talk about some of these things, and we'll start with the core course. Core course is a term that you're going to hear a lot as you go through the process. And basically, core course includes courses that qualify for high school graduation. That's going to be English. That's going to be math, Algebra 1 and beyond, natural or physical science, social sciences, foreign language, comparative religion, or philosophy. They're considered a 4-year college prep, are taught at or above the high school academic level, and taught by a qualified instructor. If students go to eligibilitycenter.org/course list, when you go there, and if you'll just put in on the search Broken Arrow High School, it will take you to the courses that are approved by the NCAA for Broken Arrow High School. Non-traditional courses, the traditional courses are the ones that we come to school for. We come to school, we have class every day. Most of those are the traditional courses. Not every course that we have at Broken Arrow High School is an NCAA approved course. Most are. And again, you can find those on the website that we just talked about. The non-traditional courses are going to be classes that are online through blended learning, distance learning. These courses are going to have to meet NCAA requirements, core course requirements. The trap you can get in here sometimes is with some of these non-traditional courses, some of the places that we attend may not have these courses approved through the NCAA. So best thing here, once again, consult with your counselor, and they're going to advise you to whether these non-traditional courses are going to be approved and count toward their core courses.
So I think that's a good thing to just reiterate, because we have so many options at Broken Arrow High School, and you look in the course guide, and there's concurrent enrollment, and there's off-campus programs like Tulsa Tech, and there's all sorts of options, and more each day it seems like. But just a good reminder to parents that just because it's an approved high school course at Broken Arrow, it's in the course guide, it may not qualify as an NCAA core course. So just circle back with your coach or with the counselor and and if you can't find it, online.
Great advice. Division I initial eligibility academic requirements to play D1 sports, graduate high school on time. And what does it mean on time? Well, if graduation is on May 27th, you have to graduate on May 27th. So that's what they mean by on time. Complete the 16 NCAA approved core courses in the correct subjects. Earn a minimum GPA, core course GPA of 2.3. Now, that has to be in the core course GPA. It's not your overall, it could be your overall GPA, but the core course GPA is the one that they're going to use. Earn a combined SAT or ACT sum score that matches your correct course GPA on the Division I sliding scale. The Division I core course time limitation, when you enter 9th grade, you have 8 semesters after that. So it's traditional, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 2 semesters each year. If you do not complete high school on time, your core courses taken after high school will not count toward the NCAA requirements. Again, there's an example there on the slide. Basically, whatever date that you're graduating on, that's the date that you're going to have to graduate. Division I core courses. When we've talked about these core courses, and here are the different combos. You have to have 4 in English, 3 years of math, Algebra 1 or above, 2 years of natural or physical science, 1 year additional of English, math, or natural or physical science, 2 years of social science, and then 4 years of the additional courses. That would be any of the courses. That would be what we talked about earlier: English, math, natural physical science, foreign language, comparative religion, philosophy. Any combo will satisfy those final courses. You have to complete 10 courses, 10 core courses before your 7th semester. 7 of those 10 have to be in English, math, or in the sciences. That's an important one to know. Once those are locked in, you cannot retake any of those courses. Core course requirements must be met in the time limitation.
One thing I want to jump in and just circle back on is you talk about that core course GPA, and so some of our kids that maybe are a little ahead of the curve and taking some of those high school classes in 8th grade, like Algebra 1, and I think is there a Spanish or there's another one that a lot of kids take in 8th grade.
Yes.
That counts towards your NCAA eligibility, even though you're not technically a high schooler, right?
As long as that is a core course on the NCAA approved list, no matter when you take it, it still counts, even though you're in the 8th grade.
So if you're a parent of a 6th grader or 7th grader, it's important to remember that taking these classes can affect your senior year, can affect your college recruiting, even though you think you're just in middle school and you've got a lot of time to think about that. Make sure you stress with your kids that anytime it's a high school approved core course, like that's going into that core course GPA, and I know you're going to hit on that some more, how important that is.
It is, and we have become educated in this as young as we possibly can. Start thinking about this. Sometimes we think we got 6th, 7th graders, and we don't really have to start thinking about this for another year or two. I would encourage parents, start getting familiar with what's a core course and what these student athletes are going to be taking that might affect their college entrance as they move forward.
And this college eligibility too, it's really just, it's not anything special about being in athletics. Even if you don't think your child has any chance at all to play at the next level, this is not a bad roadmap or strategy to follow as you go through that high school academic plan and try and get ready for graduation and life afterwards, right?
That's a great point, Charlie. This is going to be something that you can do that's going to serve your student athlete or your student as they move through their high school career. And so, yes,
easier to do it and not need it than fall behind, and all of a sudden you have that. We always see kids that have that growth spurt sophomore year, junior year. They hit that weight room in between junior and senior year, and all of a sudden the college is looking at them and oh man, I could have gone Division I if I would have put a little more effort in my 8th grade or 9th grade year when I was 3rd string and didn't really think anything of it. We hate seeing situations like that. So as much of that we can hit off at the beginning, let's do it.
Good rule of thumb is to approach it that way.
Yep.
And you're right, you do never know. Division I test scores. Taking that, I think a counselor would tell you this too, taking the SAT or the ACT as many times as you can. To get the score, the score for the ACT or for the SAT, they're going to take the best score from the math, from the science, from the reading, from the English, and they're going to come up with that score from those sub scores. As you go through this, when you go and you take the ACT or the SAT, make sure you put in 9999. Enter that. If you don't enter that code, not just anyone can send those scores to the NCAA. Those have to come from ACT or SAT. So make sure that you enter that 9999 code when you go in. Again, the NCAA will use your best scores to certify you, and your test score and GPA will be matched on the Division I sliding scale. Academic certification decisions. Division I, early academic qualifier. Division I, early academic qualifier. If you meet criteria after 6 semesters by the end of your junior year, you can be an early qualifier. Those are a minimum ACT sum score of 75, a minimum SAT combined score of 980 on SAT test taken after March 2016, a core course GPA of 3.0 or higher in a minimum of 14 core courses. Those courses include 3 years of English, 2 of math, 2 of science, 2 additional of English, math, or science, and then 5 additional core courses of any combo of math, science, English, foreign language, comparative religion, philosophy. So you can get that. You can get any of those last 5 from all of those different subjects.
And how does being an early academic qualifier, what advantage does that have in the recruiting process?
It just lets schools know that you're qualified and that you're going to have to be qualified before you can visit the campus. So would be the biggest advantage.
Absolutely. So earlier the better, so coaches know that they're not wasting their time recruiting a student athlete who might not be able to make it to college.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Great.
The next is Division I qualifier. If you're a Division I qualifier, you're eligible to practice. You're eligible to receive aid. You're eligible to compete. To meet those standards, you need to have the 16 core courses in the correct subjects. The 10-7, the 10 subjects completed by the 7th semester, the minimum core course GPA of 2.3, and then the combined SAT or the ACT sum score that matches their core course GPA on the sliding scale. The red shirt, a Division I red shirt, you can receive athletic aid. You can practice, you cannot compete. They must meet the standards of the 16 core courses.
And by athletic aid, we're talking money. We're talking scholarship money.
Scholarship money.
Aid can be sometimes a technical term, but we're talking money.
Right,
So,
scholarship money.
Yep.
Now the minimum course GPA is 2.0 to 2.299. And then still the combined SAT or ACT sum that matches the core course GPA on the sliding scale. Just a couple of things here. You may retake core courses if you fail to meet the required 10 courses before your senior year. And you must pass 9 semester hours your first academic term to continue to practice the rest of the year. There's some of these things that they may not be something that you understand right now, but this is something that we're going to have for you to access, or you can come back and look at some of these slides, and these will mean a lot more to you if your student athlete is a red shirt. And a non-qualifier, if you don't qualify at all,
you got problems.
You got problems. Yeah. You can't practice. You can't receive aid or scholarship monies, and you can't compete. Division II, we're going to move through these fairly quickly. Here's a rule of thumb. If you are certified for Division I, you're certified for Division II. To play Division II, graduate on time, complete the 16 NCAA-approved core courses. The only difference in the GPA, whereas D1 was 2.3, D2 is 2.2. And then earn the combined SAT or ACT sum score that matches your core course GPA on the Division II sliding scale. The Division I and the Division II scales are a little bit different just because the standards are just a little bit different. So as you see those, it'll be very understandable once you look at them. The core course is a little bit different for D2. Instead of 4 English, it's 3. Instead of 3 math, it's 2. You still have the 2 natural and physical science. 3 additional years in any of the English, math, or natural or physical sciences. The 2 social sciences still holds true. And then 4 years of any combo of the ones that we have previously talked about for Division I.
And it's not like you have to choose as a freshman. I'm trying to be Division I eligible and take these, or Division II eligible and take these. There's a lot of overlap, and so just shoot for Division I and then see where it shakes out.
That's it. That's what you want to do. Is
Right.
you want to fulfill the Division I requirements. That way, you've covered your bases for Division I, Division II, about any school that you would go to. The test scores, Division II test scores, the same. I would just reiterate that 999 code. Excuse me, 9999 code. Make sure you get that in there. That way, your scores automatically are going to go to the NCAA Eligibility Center. The early academic qualifier, the qualifier, now instead of redshirt, it's called partial qualifier. And then we have non-qualifier. I'm just going to hit the highlights on these. Very similar to what the Division I qualifiers were. If you meet specific criteria listed below, after 6 semesters, you can become the early qualifier, just like D1. The differences are, instead of a sum score of 75, it's 68 for Division II. Instead of 980, it's 900 on the SAT. And then instead of 2.3, it's going to be, instead of 3.0, it's going to be 2.5 for the core course GPA. The Division II qualifier, still you're eligible to compete, to practice, to receive your financial aid, to receive your scholarship money. The 16 core courses in the correct subject, minimum core course GPA of 2.2, and then your combined SAT or ACT sum score that matches on the sliding scale. The partial qualifier, I would call your attention to the minimum core course GPA of 2.0, whereas in the D1 it is 2.0 to 2.299. The non-qualifier, still the same as the D1, you're in hot water. Not eligible to practice, to compete, or receive financial aid. Recruiting calendars. All of our sports have different recruiting calendars. We have 3 during the year, 3 national signing dates. All recruiting calendars are going to culminate in a National Signing Day. We have one in February. Everyone's very familiar with the National Signing Day, where most of the time that's football players signing, but there are a lot of other sports that can sign into. We have one in April that's namely basketball. Still other sports can sign then. And then we have one in November that all of the other sports can use to sign. So there's some other signing dates. They're early signing dates, but they're the 3 major ones that you need to be familiar with. The recruiting calendars are posted online. To find the one that is going to fit your sport in the NCAA, go to ncaa.org/student-athletes. There is a very detailed list of calendars on there, and they're very easy to find, and I would encourage you to go there to find those.
Coach Belt, we talked about recruiting calendars a lot. So there's some terms there, and I know amateurism is kind of a big term in this college athletics world too. So take me through this and just things that parents need to watch out for. I know this doesn't happen a ton, but it is important stuff to hit on.
When you go into the Eligibility Center and to register for a certification account, you're going to be asked a series of questions about your sports participation that are going to determine your amateur status. The answer to some of those questions may lead to further questions. And so in general, amateurism requirements do not allow contracts with professional teams, salary for participating in athletics, prize money above actual necessary expenses. And there are some terms there that you will see. You can be reimbursed, or you can have your actual necessary expenses paid for. That's not payment. That's not what they mean. It's above and beyond that. You're not allowed to play with professionals. Tryouts, practice or competition with a professional team. Benefits from an agent or prospective agent. Agreement to be represented by an agent. Delayed initial full-time collegiate enrollment to participate in an organized sports competition. If you have any questions about whether you have compromised your amateurism, contact the NCAA, and they will let you know whether you have, give you information that you need to know as you move forward in competition in high school and post-high school.
And you can also take that up with anybody in the athletic office too, yourself or Coach Dunn or Amanda Snyder. They'll help you out with, hey, watch out for this. If you're thinking about it, it's better to check ahead of time, right, than to do something over the summer and have a regret.
Absolutely. And you also must receive a final amateurism certification before you can be eligible to practice or play at your university. You will have to request that. They're not going to do it for you. You'll have to request it before you can get it. So just something important as you move forward with some of the questions you're going to answer as you go on to your certification account.
And I know you had some just kind of proactive reminders we were going to cover. Big things on here. We kind of hit on a lot of these, but what stands out on you on this list?
Make sure you share your NCAA ID number. That's a big one. One we talked about earlier, don't forget to apply to the school of your choice. Again, those standards may be different. That's a big one. Learn about your national letter of intent. What all does that entail? What does it entail? What does it entail for the compensation or the money that you're getting? You need to understand everything about the national letter of intent. That final request for amateurism that we just talked about is going to be important. And ask your counselor, this is a big one, ask your counselor to send your final transcript with proof of graduation to the NCAA.
And one other thing about applying to that school of your choice too, that can help show your coaches that, hey, I am serious about University X. If I've already applied and I'm accepted, they know that you're not just taking them along for the ride and you're really going to sign with somebody else. I mean, if you're that 5-star player, they're still going to be calling you, but you can do things to kind of make yourself more desirable as a recruit if you're kind of on that bubble, right?
This is a big investment for universities. These guys are investing a lot of money in 4 or 5 years of college. And so for you to show them that you're serious about it, and it might be the difference between if there's you and another athlete and it's neck and neck, that athlete that goes and shows some initiative in these areas might be the one that they end up taking, because those things, as coaches know, translate onto the field. And so, point well taken.
Coach Melton, thank you.
Thanks, Charlie.
Assistant Director of Athletics Amanda Snyder is with us now. And Amanda, you're going to hit on a lot of the resources that are available here at Broken Arrow for our students.
Let's talk about the College and Career Center. To learn more about the college admissions process, you can visit the College and Career Center, which is located at the high school on the main level in room 124. Counselors are there to guide our students and answer questions regarding college visits, the entire college acceptance process, what to expect. They can help you with the FAFSA, which is the financial aid form. They can also give you information and give our students information on scholarships, how to apply, what to expect. More importantly, they have a lot of information regarding the ACT and SAT testing dates, waivers, and they can give you a lot of test prep material as well. They're there, they know everything that could possibly pertain to the college admissions process. So it's incredibly beneficial. We recommend that our student athletes and students alike take advantage of this process because it's a great starting point. In addition, something that's a bonus for our student athletes is that the counselors are familiar with dealing with the NCAA eligibility centers. So, they're familiar with that. They can answer questions. And upon graduation, they're going to be able to send in their transcripts to colleges and to the eligibility centers. The services, like we've said, are really helpful for students and parents alike. All you have to do is set up an appointment. So for students with the last name A through K, they'll visit with Counselor Micah Haas. Students with the last name L through Z, they'll visit with Counselor Kristen Carr. Here are the remaining ACT and SAT testing dates for your convenience. We've listed them out. And at the bottom, you'll see a little bullet, just a reminder that all Broken Arrow High School juniors are actually required and will be able to take the SAT free of cost on April 14th. So that's something that we do here for our juniors specifically. We really recommend that students, especially student athletes, apply for these exams about 3 months in advance. That way it ensures that you get the testing location and the date that you prefer. When registering, I'm sure this has already been said, but make sure you enter the code 9999, so that way it goes towards the eligibility centers. It'll be sent, your scores will be sent there directly. And obviously study and take practice exams. The College and Career Center can help you with that, but also if you just visit the ACT or SAT websites, you can print off actual exams and take those to practice.
It's a good tip on the 3 months ahead too, because a lot of people are, I'm a huge procrastinator, and I would have signed up like 3 weeks before and been in trouble. So good
Right.
advice. What about core course GPA? We've talked about core courses. Darren was all about core courses, and you have to have this many, and your core course GPA, and parents are thinking, okay, my kid's got a GPA on their transcript, but how do we get our core course GPA? And I know we've got a great tool for that as well.
This is an incredible tool. Broken Arrow has teamed up with CoreCourseGPA.com in an effort to provide a customized software that provides free information for parents and student athletes. It's a helpful tool that allows student athletes to track process towards becoming NCAA eligible. It's a little bit small, but you can see that it's a fairly easy, simple 5-step process in order to activate your membership. We encourage our student athletes to do this so they can begin tracking the core courses and learn more about the recruiting process in general.
And we've got this covered. We've paid the fees on this, so our kids aren't going to have to pay anything to have this, right?
It is free, so that's an incredible bonus of being here at Broken Arrow High School, is that we offer this for free.
Perfect.
In addition, just a couple more things on this slide is that Core Course GPA is going to calculate those core courses for Division I and Division II. It's going to provide corresponding minimum ACT and SAT scores and a detailed report of credits earned and needed. Bottom line, this is going to be helpful to help you and your child manage and understand the recruiting process from an academic standpoint. It's a proactive way to becoming NCAA eligible and playing at the next level. So essentially, it's going to upload your 4-year high school schedule and it's going to let you know whether or not you're on the right track, which courses you still need, which ones will apply, and it's going to be a useful tool moving forward. Start as early as possible. 9th grade is really when it begins, but you can absolutely download this. If you've got an 8th grader, go ahead and take advantage of this now so it's ready to go. Let's
kind of transition a little bit into what it's like at the next level, because you come from the University of Tulsa, had a decade there as an administrator. You were a student athlete at OU. So you've seen that Division I side as an athlete and a coach and administrator. So what can kids be doing now to start making sure that they're best prepared for success when they get to that next level?
I have some advice. The first thing I want to say is to be intentional with your schedule and your goals. You can start easily by setting up a meeting with the College and Career Center. And then from there, choose your SAT and ACT dates wisely. Consider your sports schedule so that way you don't run into any conflicts. In addition, this is the big one that I feel, I've noticed that people that learn to balance their time wisely and have excellent time management skills are going to do really well at the next level. So some easy tips that student athletes can do now: go to class, be present, be timely. They need to be as committed to their grades as they are their sport. As we've said, work closely with the College and Career Center counselors so you have a plan. This one's huge: getting adequate sleep. I know we don't talk about that a lot, but it's huge. If you can learn how vital it is now, you'll do even better in college as a student athlete. A normal person requires 7 to 9 hours of sleep, but as an athlete, you're training all the time, you probably require more hours of sleep. It goes hand in hand with sports performance. So if student athletes can learn to get adequate sleep now and practice that, they're going to be so much better off in college because it's going to promote recovery and the ability to focus, obviously, in the classroom setting. Another really great tip that I wanted to talk about on this page is that here at Broken Arrow, we have an incredible opportunity for our student athletes to fuel their body properly. It's a healthy nutritional option that we provide called Tiger Nutrition. This was actually set up by our strength coach, Cody Ellett, and executive director of athletics, Steve Dunn. And essentially, they worked with the child nutrition coordinator in this district to come up with the guidelines that are going to properly fuel our athletes' bodies. So essentially, no fried foods, whole grains, fruits, vegetables. But this is a professional way. It's set up a lot like the college training tables, and we're giving this access to our student athletes so that way they can understand how to balance nutrition, sleep, and why it's important to fuel their body properly.
Very cool. Just kind of take me through a day in the life of a college student athlete, because I mean, it's a full-time job. People talk about that all the time. And just what was your experience like, and the athletes that you coached and led? Just give us a little bit of a sneak peek, if you would.
The big thing is that when you get to the next level, talent alone will not suffice. As a student athlete, you're going to have high standards thrust upon you, not only physically but mentally as well. As a full-time student, you're going to be taking 12 hours minimum. Some student athletes might take 15, some might take 18 hours. It just depends. But you'll be training, practicing. You'll have weightlifting sessions. You'll have your daily class schedule. In addition, you'll have mandatory study hall. You'll have tutors. So you're going to have a lot of things and a lot of meetings and a lot of people that are going to be there to steer you in the right direction. In addition, as a student athlete, you'll have breakfast check-ins, hydration tests on game days, and so in season for certain sports, you might be traveling a lot and midweek travel. So if you get back, for example, on a Wednesday evening at, your game's at 8, you fly back in and you get back at 1 or 2 a.m. and you have class at 8 a.m. on Thursday, you're still required to be there and you're still required to do a good job in those classes. So the time demands are greater than that of a normal student, and so that's the thing, what you can expect at the next level. Your life revolves around your sport, but at the end of the day, if you remember you're a student first and an athlete second, I think you'll be more successful.
Amanda, thanks. That's great advice. Great opportunity for some of our kids, but it does require a lot of preparation and never too early to start.
Time management.
All right, Amanda, thanks.
Thank you so much.
Coach Dunn back with me now, and John Cockrell, parent of 3 Broken Arrow student athletes. Before we get into the parent segment, Coach, let's just review what we've covered so far.
You bet. So just to review the main points of the first 3 segments that we went through. Number 1, the high school timeline. Again, it can start as early as the 8th grade in Broken Arrow. If you're taking Spanish 1, if you're taking Algebra 1, any core course that was mentioned by Coach Melton that is approved by the NCAA here at Broken Arrow, again, it starts as early as the 8th grade. Most of the time it starts in the 9th grade, but as far as the high school timeline, it starts early, so perform well in class. It's a great incentive for our students to do well in school. The second segment, again, with initial eligibility requirements presented by Darren Melton. The first 10 classes must be completed prior to your senior year. That's the whole 10-7 rule that he alluded to. And then lastly, corecoursegpa.com. This is a free service that we provide to every student athlete in Broken Arrow, their families, that can literally spit out a 4-year high school academic schedule that will lead to NCAA eligibility. And simultaneously, you'll be a high school graduate. You'll be a Division II qualifier. If you pursue this and perform well in school, use Core Course GPA as a tool to help you take your future into your own hands.
I want to get to John Cockrell, and I know you have 2 sons that just signed scholarships for wrestling. You've got a daughter in the recruiting process now, triplets, all seniors going through this. Just kind of take me through the parent perspective of what this recruiting process, this NCAA process is like, because it can get a little overwhelming at times.
It can get a little overwhelming. You just have to do your homework. Just realize that they're kids and kind of pay attention to the kids and how they're taking it as far as being recruited and the selection that where they're wanting to go to school. And really, ultimately, you need to determine what they want to do when they go to school. So that helps, look for what type of programs you're interested in and going through that. But, it's just like you guys just touched on as far as the academics and stuff. That has got to be at the forefront. You've got to make sure that your academics are in line and that you're meeting all the requirements to be able to get up on the board for the schools to be looking at you.
Was there anything that surprised you as you were going through this with your kids?
At first, it was kind of underwhelming because you feel like you're not getting looked at and kind of not understanding the process. But once it gets going and you start building relationships with these coaches and programs and stuff, it can become overwhelming pretty quick. And because with social media today, and once everybody's looking at you and you're a recruit or a possible recruit and you start going on visits, then it's like a feeding frenzy. And that's what I'm saying. You've got to go back and look at and make sure and remind yourself that these are just kids, because they've got to focus on school or the athletic or the sport that they're in at that time and be able to handle the load of all the coaches calling them in the programs.
And you've been involved in athletics forever, not just with your own kids, but I know you've been an active coach on the youth levels and throughout this. So you've seen plenty of athletes be recruited, whether they're your kids or your kids. Just what's your message to student athletes who, 8th grade, 9th grade, they're not quite sure, kids develop at different rates, but it's important to start early on all this eligibility stuff, isn't it?
You have to be, number one, you're a student athlete. So you have to be a student. And in order for you to be successful at the program and have that interest, you have to keep your grades up, prepare for the ACT, the SATs, and also be involved in some civic organizations or duties, some volunteer work. Depends on what type of athlete. If you're a five-star recruit, they're going to look at your athletics. But if you're not, you're in competition with tons of kids in the nation. So you've got to do something that's going to set yourself apart, or make it easy for them to sign you, because it's not always just going to be an athletic scholarship. There's only 4 sports that allow you for a full ride. Everything else is partials. So in order for you to be able to get the academic scholarships on top of the athletic scholarships, you've got to keep your GPA and your test scores up.
Coach Dunn, I know you've got some experience as a college football coach before you got into the administration side. Just tell me from a coach's perspective, that relationship with parents of student athletes that you're recruiting, how does that all work?
Absolutely. So as a former college football coach, you're investing sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars into young people. And when you know that there's a family that is supportive back home, when you know that there is a solid foundation, then it's a wise investment, because you know that when the going gets tough in the classroom at the next level, on the field of play at the next level, that they're going to pick the phone up and they're going to call somebody. And then when there's a supportive parent and family on the other end of the line, it's really a great partnership for colleges to have that kind of a relationship and resource. And you really build that through the recruiting process. I know that the University of Maryland flew down 3 coaches to sit in the Cockrell House. That goes a long ways. And there's going to be a phone call in a year or two, and it's going to be very beneficial that there's already a relationship that's been formed. And again, it's not a science, it's not an exact science. Only 6%, fewer than 6% of all high school student athletes will have an opportunity to participate at the next level. And so there's going to be 94% of student athletes whose careers will end their senior year. And so that's why we are so focused and laser focused on creating the best interscholastic athletic experience in the country, because for most of our kiddos, this is it. But a part of that mission that we talked about earlier is we need to make sure that we create an environment where if you have the ability to go to the next level, that we're equipping and empowering our families and our student athletes with the information on how best to pursue that. And that's what this is all about, is just making sure that when a family is so fortunate and blessed to have an opportunity to go to the next level, that they have been working on it for 4 or 5 years already. Sometimes if you go to your senior year and you just start to think about it, it might be too late. You might be in an academic hole that's difficult to get out of. But I promise you this, if you pursue NCAA eligibility, you will never regret it, because you're going to become a high school graduate. You might not have an opportunity to go to the next level. That's okay. But at least if it does come knocking, you have the ability to do that. And you're going to get a high school diploma, and coming out of Broken Arrow, you're going to be college and career ready. And so this is just another part, a small piece of the puzzle here at Broken Arrow Public Schools, just to make sure that our students are ready for whatever the next chapter of their life holds.
John, one big takeaway from you, if you run into somebody who is a parent of a freshman or a sophomore student athlete and they're starting to get that recruiting, what's your one biggest piece of advice to parents?
Let the kids do the work as far as establishing a relationship with the coaches that they're wanting to go to the school. Parents tend to be overbearing and want to get involved too much. Sit back, let your kids establish a relationship, because that's who your kid's going to spend the 4 or 5 years with when they leave your home, not you. And so, you don't want the coaches selling the program to you. You want to make sure that your kid's going to a program that can establish a relationship with that coach.
That's good advice.
It's great advice.
John, thank you very much for being here. We've talked about some resources for parents, NCAA@baschools.org. That's always a good one. You got the athletic office phone number there, 918-259-5900. Before we wrap it up, Coach Dunn, I know there's a couple other things you wanted to hit on.
You bet. So we have, throughout this webinar, referred you back to eligibilitycenter.org. Use that as a portal to go to. The NCAA in the last several years has done a great job of improving their marketing and promotional materials that they give to student athletes and parents. It gives you the initial eligibility requirements. The sliding scale that Coach Melton talked about is all there. And it's just a good place to go back and refer to as you go through this journey. So use that as a portal that you work in and out of over the next 4 or 5 years.
Coach Dunn, everybody, thanks for being here. Don't forget, if you're watching this presentation somewhere, no matter where it got to you, It will live forever at batigersports.com. We'll have a PDF of all these slides, so you can download that information and use it wherever you want. Thank you for tuning in. This has been the Broken Arrow NCAA Eligibility Webinar.